I took a knife for my husband, suffered a miscarriage, yet he held his first love, relieved, saying, "Thank goodness it wasn't you who got hurt," treating me with indifference and dismissiveness. I saw the hickeys and lipstick marks on his neck, and my heart completely froze. The day I was discharged from the hospital, I didn't hesitate to call my lawyer, prepare the divorce papers for me immediately. The phone hung up, and the next second, a black car pulled up in front of me. Marcus rolled down the window, looking at me as if granting a favor. "I'm sorry for what happened this time. Since you helped Daisy take the fall, tell me, what compensation do you want?" I kept walking forward without looking back. "No need. I'll take a cab back, myself." He frowned impatiently, got out of the car, and forcefully pushed me into the passenger seat. "What's with the fuss, Grace? Don't try to annoy me with such silly antics. Daisy doesn't have your constitution. This might be a minor injury for you, but it could have killed her." During my hospital stay, he never once visited me, so he had no idea about my injuries, nor that I had suffered a miscarriage because of them. A few days prior, I had been abducted and beaten. By the time Marcus arrived, I had been brutally kicked in the abdomen, bleeding and close to fainting. He merely gave me an indifferent glance, and told me not to play dead. Then he turned to comfort the woman behind him. Only later did I learn that the woman was Daisy, Marcus' first love. Back then, defying everyone, he left his first love to marry me. It was just youthful arrogance. He'd incurred animosity from someone over a business deal, and feared retaliation against his loved one, so he used me to take Daisy's place, and shield her from harm. The ironic thing was, I had been kept in the dark all this time, believing it was true love. The person who hurt me was sent to the police station, but he held Daisy, relieved. "Thank goodness it wasn't you who got hurt. Don't be afraid, you'll be safe from now on." I lay on the ground, covered in blood, so disheveled and in so much pain, that I couldn't utter a single word. Only then did they remember to call an ambulance for me. The doctor said I was over a month pregnant and had a miscarriage due to the blunt force trauma. If I had come to the hospital earlier, the situation might not have been so dire. I thought of the hickeys on Marcus' neck, and the lipstick marks matching Daisy's shade. At that moment, I truly felt fed up. Whether it was Marcus or this marriage full of lies. I wasn't in the mood to argue with him, and sat silently in the passenger seat. Usually, I was the one who initiated conversations with Marcus, but this time, I said nothing, and he actually started talking more. "You've lost a lot of weight, go home, and let Aunt make you something to help you recover. I've been busy with work these past few days, and couldn't visit you. Were you all right at the hospital?" I nodded vaguely, giving a non-committal answer. "Yeah, I'm okay." He turned in surprise, saw my attitude, and his expression showed displeasure. He stopped talking to me. The atmosphere in the car became stagnant. When we were still a few thousand meters from home, Marcus suddenly glanced at his phone and pulled the car over. The car window was lightly tapped twice. Daisy stood outside, looking pitiful. "Marcus, I know you were picking Grace up from the hospital today, and didn't want to bother you, but I just couldn't get a cab, and the weather forecast says it's going to rain today." Although there were few cars on this road, it wasn't isolated. It was a lie all three of them knew, but Marcus gave a doting smile, and didn't hesitate to let her get in. He completely forgot he had just said he'd spend the whole day with me. Daisy stood stubbornly in place, her eyes slightly red, like a sad little rabbit, evoking pity. "You said your passenger seat was always reserved just for me, and that day we already did *the* here. How can anyone else sit here now?" My body stiffened. I hadn't looked closely when I got in, but the passenger seat must have been recently cleaned, as the scent of the cleaner was mixed with a heavy perfume, as if it had soaked in from skin pressed together for a long time. Besides that, there was a packaging bag for women's lingerie in the back seat. It must have been bought afterward. A wave of nausea surged in my stomach, and my face instantly paled. Astonishment flashed in Marcus' eyes. He hadn't expected Daisy to blurt this out in front of me. He opened his mouth, trying to explain something. I swiftly picked up my bag, got out of the car, and waved him off. I suddenly remembered I left something at the hospital. "You go on ahead." My husband cheated on me right in front of my face, yet as his wife, I felt not even a hint of anger. This wasn't normal. Marcus' expression turned strange when he realized this, and he tried to grab my arm, but had already squeezed past me and into the passenger seat, softly wrapping her arms around his and urging him. Marcus, I walked so long just now, and I think I twisted my ankle. It hurts so much. Hearing that his beloved first love was hurt, Marcus no longer cared about me. He casually tossed out, so forgetful, always causing trouble, and drove off with her. After the car had driven a few meters away, I finally couldn't help but lean on a tree and retch. That sickly sweet scent lingered in my nostrils. The sky gradually darkened, and people on the street rushed past. A few raindrops fell on my face. It took a while for me to compose myself, and then I tremblingly reached up to wipe away the salty drops from my face. I walked to a supermarket to escape the rain. I also bought a suitcase, planning to go home tonight, pack my belongings, and move out. Just after I checked out, my phone rang. It was a text message from Marcus, saying he'd left in a hurry and the front door wasn't locked, asking me to go back and check immediately. Thinking about all the documents and important papers at home, I didn't delay and immediately took a cab back. The moment I walked through the door, I knew I had been tricked. The living room fell silent due to my sudden intrusion. Marcus was kneeling in front of Daisy, massaging her ankle and applying medicine. The first aid kit beside them was one I had prepared. When we first got married, Marcus always worked late, constantly complaining of stomachaches or headaches. I specifically went to the hospital and carefully got various medications to keep at home, afraid he might feel unwell. But one time, I fell while cooking and hit my back, and when I asked him to help me apply medicine, Marcus didn't even lift his head, continuing to work, his tone filled with annoyance. Can't you see I'm busy? Do it yourself in the mirror. Do you not have hands or eyes? Compared to now, where he was carefully massaging Daisy's foot and applying medicine, his eyes full of tenderness, it only made me feel more like a clown. I should have realized long ago that Marcus' business depended on the person, he simply didn't love me. Seeing my appearance, he was clearly displeased. Didn't you say you were going back to the hospital to get something? Why are you back so soon? I didn't argue about why I couldn't come home, nor did I question why he brought another woman back. After all, this wouldn't be my home much longer. Daisy, afraid I might say something, hooked her hand through Marcus' arm and pouted. I told Grace to come home quickly. It's going to rain soon, and if she gets drenched and catches a cold, you'd have to take care of her. Then who would be here for me? Marcus' displeased expression faded. He flicked her nose and chuckled softly, calling her a little jealous one. The two of them were being openly affectionate, completely oblivious to my presence. After applying the medicine, Marcus went to wash his hands only, and I were left in the living room. See, I am the one Marcus has always loved, and cared about. You read just a shield. She looked at me provocatively. I knew her purpose in deliberately calling me back was just to flaunt their relationship. Unfortunately for her, there was no ripple in my heart. I just wanted to go back to my room, pack my things, and leave this suffocating place. I walked around her and went back to my room. It had no effect, and Daisy's sweet facade began to crack. She suddenly grabbed my hand. The wedding ring on my ring finger sparkled brightly under the light. It somehow provoked Daisy, who stared intently at the ring. This should have been mine. You don't deserve it. Take it off, and give it back to me. You've stolen my happiness for all these years, you shameless thief. Back then, Marcus insisted on marrying me. Daisy, afraid of retaliation, didn't stop him, and watched him pursue me and marry me. One could say they conspired to trick me into this scheme. I was the victim, yet Daisy acted as if she had every right. She started pulling hard at the ring. It hurt, so I swung my arm back, accidentally hitting her face. Her face contorted in a ferocious grimace, and she suddenly grabbed a bottle of medicinal wine nearby, and threw it at my head as if insane. The glass bottle hit my temple hard, hurting so much I nearly lost my balance, and my ears rang. I raised my hand to strike back, but was stopped by Marcus, who had just come out after washing his hands. He gripped my wrist without mercy, with such force it felt like he might crush my bones, and warned me coldly. Grace, no one can hurt Daisy in front of me. I looked at Marcus, silent for a long time. My recently discharged body constantly sent out painful warnings. Only, when he saw the bleeding wound on my temple, did he release my hand as if shocked and turn to ask Daisy what had happened. Daisy threw herself into his arms, teary-eyed, and choked out, "I just thought Grace's wedding ring was so pretty, and I wanted to get a closer look. The ring you gave to your bride must be beautiful. I've waited so many years and never received one. I truly just wanted to see it." And then she hit me, so I got angry and threw the bottle of medicinal wine at her. Hearing her explanation, Marcus' heart immediately ached for her. He gently patted Daisy's back to comfort her, praised her for throwing it, saying she should fight back if bullied, and even told me to take off my wedding ring for her to see. This wedding ring was already meaningless. After we got married, I never saw Marcus wear his. Only I, like a fool, stubbornly wore it, desperately clinging to a precarious marriage. I took off the ring, tossed it over, and said blandly, "You don't have to fight for it. It's yours." He must have expected me to cry and make a scene, but my current indifference made his expression gradually freeze, his thin lips pressed tightly together. Daisy picked up the ring, looked at it, tried it on her ring finger, found it wasn't the right size, pouted, and casually threw it into the trash. "It's so dirty because you wore it. Marcus will buy me a new one, won't he?" Marcus didn't answer. His gaze fell on me, scrutinizing something, and finally landed on the suitcase by my feet. He frowned and asked, "What did you buy a suitcase for?" Before I could answer, he scoffed, as if he saw right through me. "Are you really throwing a tantrum and running away from home over something so minor, Grace? How old are you? Still playing hard to get?" I shook my head, denying it. "I'm moving out and not planning on coming back." A flicker of glee crossed Daisy's eyes, and she exaggerated, saying I was easily upset, and that all this was just to make Marcus apologize to me. Marcus' face completely cooled. He picked her up and walked towards the door, his tone irritated. "You don't need to leave. I don't want to stay in this house for a second. Come find me when you've thought things over and realized your mistake." The door slammed shut with a bang. I paused, then forced a bitter smile. In the past, whenever we argued, no matter whose fault it was, Marcus would always give me the cold shoulder until I couldn't stand it anymore, and apologize to make up. This time, however, I wouldn't be so submissive. The next afternoon, I received the divorce papers sent by my lawyer. I signed my section, went back to my room to pack my suitcase, and also bought a plane ticket back to my hometown. Besides my clothes and documents, I didn't take anything that belonged to Marcus. Before leaving, I placed the divorce papers and the unexpected miscarriage report on the living room table. I hoped Marcus, for the sake of the child we once had, would let us part ways amicably without further trouble. An hour later, I was dragging my suitcase at the airport, ready to board. Before boarding the plane, my phone rang. It was a message from Marcus. He asked me, "Have you realized your mistake?" I answered him indirectly, "If you have time, go home and take a look." After sending the message, I didn't care what his reaction would be, and immediately added him to my blacklist. After getting off the plane, I immediately saw my parents waiting at the exit. The moment they saw me, smiles instantly spread across their faces. My dad looked around, then frowned and muttered, "That wretched Marcus boy made you come back alone again. It's like this, every year. What kind of jerk did you marry?" Marcus had only met my parents at our wedding, he hadn't visited them even once since I told them truthfully I asked him for a divorce. My mom saw my pale face, patted my dad, signaling him to shut up, then smilingly hooked her arm through mine. "It's good you are getting divorced. Since you are home, let's not talk about him. And guess what? Ethan, who used to play with you every day when you were little, is back too. He's really successful now and even came to our house asking about you." We chatted and laughed all the way home. My parents prepared a lavish lunch for me. After a busy half day of tidying up and finally lying down, it was almost evening before I had time to turn on my phone. Instantly, a flood of messages and missed calls appeared. Among them was the neighborhood's resident complaint group, with people upstairs and downstairs furiously tagging me. Are you renovating or murdering someone in your house? All that banging and crashing, can't a person get some rest? The elderly neighbor I was close with also sent a message. I saw your husband being helped into the house by a woman last night, completely drunk. They were being all intimate. These days, mistresses just waltz right into people's homes. Girl, calm down, just try to keep the noise down when you are fighting. I opened the living room security camera footage, puzzled. The screen was initially black, but I could faintly hear people talking. Marcus came home, called out for Grace, but received no reply, so he turned on the lights himself. Once the lights were on, I could clearly see that he was likely drunk after a business dinner, and Daisy was holding his waist beside him, the two of them practically glued together. Normally, I would have prepared a hangover remedy, and gently waited for him on the sofa. My continued absence exhausted Marcus' patience. He thought I had deliberately called him back, wanting him to coax me, and roared softly into the room. Are you done yet? If you keep this up, I won't come back at all. Still no response. Marcus rubbed his temples in frustration. Daisy helped him to the sofa to rest. As they passed the table, they saw the divorce papers on top. Both of them froze simultaneously. Marcus expressionlessly picked up the two thin sheets of paper. When he flipped to the miscarriage report underneath, his pupils constricted. Daisy covered her mouth and gasped softly. How could this be? It was clearly just a minor injury last time, but she actually had a miscarriage. Marcus ignored her, staring at the report, his gaze lowered, his thoughts unreadable. After a while, he pushed Daisy away and strode to the bedroom door. Finding it empty, he pulled out his phone and made a call. The phone rang for a long time, but no one answered. His face was terrifyingly dark. When the call failed to connect again, he violently threw his phone as if a volcano had erupted. The phone hit the TV with a loud crash, and the TV screen shattered into pieces on the floor. Daisy trembled with fright and forced a smile. Don't be angry. Grace is probably just upset about losing the baby, acting on impulse. Besides, she wants a divorce. You should be happy, Marcus. I've been waiting for you to marry me for a long time. Marcus clutched the two papers tightly, his brows furrowed with annoyance. All right, we'll talk about the divorce later. I need to go out for a while. The divorce papers were torn to shreds and thrown into the trash. Seeing this, I turned off the playback and sighed softly. It seemed this divorce wouldn't be easy. With capabilities, finding where I went would be effortless. Sure enough, not long after I arrived home and started to relax, Marcus showed up. He stood at my doorstep wearing a black trench coat, his handsome face drawing glances from all the passing neighbors. Even after being married for so long, no one on my side of the family had ever seen what my husband looked like. To avoid being gossiped about by nosy relatives for the next few weeks, I took him to a quiet coffee shop. Almost as soon as we entered the cafe, Marcus grabbed my arm, his dark eyes deep. Come home with me. I tugged, but couldn't pull free, so I just let him hold me. Have you signed the divorce papers? If they are signed, I can go back with you to finalize the paperwork. He looked at me, confusion and helplessness almost spilling from his eyes. Why are you getting a divorce? To me, the question was idiotic, but genuinely looked like he couldn't understand why I wanted a divorce. In his view, the title of Mrs. Marcus was highly sought after, and I, having married above my station, should cling to it tightly. I was almost laughing from anger at his presumptuous thought. You and Daisy practically flaunted your relationship in front of me. Am I supposed to pretend to be deaf and blind every day and watch you two in love and then casually help her take the fall again? Marcus, I haven't lived enough yet. Understanding flashed in his eyes, and he explained to me that the people who would hurt me had all been dealt with and such things would never happen again. As for Daisy, he hesitated for a long time before making a decision. I'll try my best to be with her less in front of you. Is that enough? I was unmoved. In my heart, I didn't understand why he wouldn't let me go, even though there was no love. Marcus clenched his jaw, clearly angry, but then softened his voice, perhaps thinking of something. Grace, that's enough. Do you want me to apologize for what happened before? Yes, I shouldn't have left you in danger that day, leading to the miscarriage. Our child is gone, do you think I don't regret it? In the few years we've been married, this was the first time I'd heard him speak to me in such an apologetic tone. I thought of how this child came to be. That day was Thanksgiving, and Marcus and I had returned to the family. Mrs. Margaret was getting older, and just wished for us to have a child. She spent almost the entire dinner pressuring us to have grandchildren. I had some drinks, and that night, back home, I clung to Marcus and wouldn't let go. He probably didn't want to, pulling a condom from his pocket, but I threw it away. Annoyed by my fussing, he pushed me onto the bed, completely rough and disregardful of my feelings throughout. At that time, I still didn't know about Dace's existence. I genuinely wanted to have a complete family with him, and even though the pain sobered me up, I accepted it through tears. Only now did I realize that Marcus rarely initiated intimacy with me, so why would he carry a condom with him? How many things had he and Daisy done behind my back? Perhaps he would kiss someone else's lips one moment, and then touch me the next. I felt disgusted and nauseated, not wanting to look at him even for a second, maintaining my last bit of composure. What I've always wanted is not your regret, but for myself to have no regrets. To me, you are like a dirty shirt. Who would ever wear dirty clothes again? Given status, few people would dare to insult him with such words. He finally couldn't hold back. The fingers gripping my arm trembled slightly with anger, and he yanked me closer. Time ticked by. He didn't say anything. The cafe staff cast curious glances our way. Suddenly, someone bumped into Marcus, spilling hot coffee all over him. He was scalded and instinctively let go of me. The man who bumped into him didn't apologize. Instead, he raised an eyebrow and asked, "Mr. Marcus, please maintain some decorum in public." Marcus' face turned ashen. "Ethan, what an unfortunate coincidence to run into you here." "Ethan." I was a little surprised. I suddenly remembered my mom mentioning that Ethan was back when I got off the plane. After a few years, Ethan had transformed from the bullied little lamb of our childhood, into a gentle and elegant businessman. And he knew Marcus. Marcus didn't know about our relationship. Perhaps not wanting to lose face in front of an acquaintance, he muttered, "The divorce isn't happening. I'll give you a chance to think it over," and left only after he had walked away out of sight. Did Ethan say with a hint of regret, "It seems your divorce won't be happening." It was a bit embarrassing to meet for the first time, under such circumstances. "Thank you for helping me out just now, but since I've asked for a divorce, I've already made all the necessary preparations." On my way here, I had already sent a message to Mrs. Margaret. I not only told her about wanting a divorce and the miscarriage, but I also exaggerated, saying I might never be able to get pregnant again. Mrs. Margaret already didn't like me, and being old and longing for grandchildren, she would definitely use every means possible to make us divorce after hearing this. Ethan and I stayed at the cafe to catch up. Talking about some childhood memories, I couldn't help but smile. Back then, I was practically the nightmare of the town's bullies, rushing to help whenever I saw someone being picked on. Because of my reckless ferocity, I never lost a fight. Ethan was the sweetheart I had saved. He remarked, "You've become much gentler. I can barely see any trace of your childhood self." I couldn't help but feel a little dazed. Actually, I wasn't like this before I got married. Back then, I still enjoyed helping others, and I met Marcus when I helped him catch a pickpocket. Probably because of that incident, he always thought I had a strong constitution, and would be fine no matter how injured I got. After we got married, the Marcus family always found fault with me, believing I wasn't refined enough. For a reputation, I desperately restrained my behavior, smoothed out my rough edges, and became the gentle and virtuous Mrs. Marcus in others' eyes. We talked until it was almost dark, still not wanting to stop. In all these years, I had never felt so unburdened. Ethan walked me home. As we approached my doorstep, I smiled and waved goodbye to him. He suddenly called out to me, "Grace." The streetlight glow dappled in his eyes, sparkling with a strange brilliance. "Maybe my returning and meeting you this time is fate." Before he could finish, a car sped towards us from behind him. The headlights were so blinding I couldn't open my eyes. Seeing it about to hit us, Ethan pulled me into his arms to dodge. The car stopped steadily about a meter away. Marcus got out, his stern gaze landing on Ethan's hand wrapped around my waist. He pulled out a sarcastic sneer. "No wonder you went to my mother in such a hurry to divorce me, because you've already found someone else." I stepped out of Ethan's embrace and met his gaze calmly. Just one afternoon had passed, and Marcus had already come looking for me again. I guessed Mrs. Margaret had already taken action to force him to divorce. What? One rule for him, another for everyone else. Why can't I find someone else? If you mind, then divorce me now. I deliberately provoked him with my words. Ethan instantly understood my intention. He stepped forward and met Marcus' gaze, his tone challenging. "Mr. Marcus, if you don't cherish someone as exceptional as Grace, then let go quickly. After all, not everyone mistakes a pearl for a fish eye." Grace. This was the first time I'd heard such an intimate nickname. In the few years we were married, even Marcus always called me Grace. Sure enough, Marcus' face gradually darkened. He seemed about to say something. I wasn't interested in listening. I linked my arm with Ethan's, smiling brightly. "Let's go. My parents said they want to invite you for dinner at our house." Marcus was ruthlessly left behind by me. He tried to catch up, but the phone in his pocket rang incessantly, as if demanding his life. From a distance, I heard his irritated voice. "Mom, I'll be back as soon as I can. I don't agree to the divorce. Daisy. I won't marry her." Over the next few days, I didn't see Marcus again. Ethan, however, came to my house every other day. He never came empty-handed, bringing hostess gifts like tea and health supplements. My parents were delighted by him, and whenever they had free time, they tried to set us up, hinting that I should let Ethan be their son-in-law. "Ethan, I've had my eye on you since you were little. I always thought you and my Grace would end up together." I glared at my dad, who was saying whatever came to mind after a few drinks, and asked Ethan to come out with me. When we were alone, I confessed to him. "I know how you feel, but I've had a miscarriage, and I'm not even divorced yet." Ethan was young and accomplished, and he wasn't bad looking. I was clearly not his best option, and shouldn't hinder his promising future. Hearing this, he thought I was rejecting him, and became a little flustered. "I don't care. If you are concerned, I can wait until after your divorce to formally pursue you. Or are you still feeling something for Marcus because of—" I interrupted him. "I have no feelings left for Marcus. I am just waiting for the divorce to be finalized so I can cut off all contact." Ethan gave a wry smile. "This divorce might not be so easy. I had been following Marcus' situation these past few days, or rather, I had deliberately avoided it." Ethan said that Mrs. Margaret, to force Marcus to divorce, had been arguing and even going on a hunger strike. He had also fended off her attempts to leverage her connections. To prevent Mrs. Margaret from interfering, he had knelt outside the family for several nights. I hadn't expected Marcus to go to such lengths just to avoid a divorce. If he didn't love me, why wouldn't he let go? At that moment, my mind was too muddled to think. On the surface, I shrugged indifferently. Whether we divorce or not isn't up to him, the at-fault party. If necessary, I'll file a lawsuit. Besides, I believed that not only Mrs. Margaret but Daisy wouldn't let this drag on indefinitely either. Speak of the devil. The next morning, my front door was pounded on loudly. Daisy stood outside, her face full of impatience. The moment she saw me, she raised her hand to slap me. I was no longer Mrs. Marcus, so I didn't need to consider the bigger picture, and certainly wouldn't let anyone bully me. My eyes sharpened. I grabbed her arm firmly with my left hand, and my right arm swung in a wide arc, slapping her with a loud smack. Compared to my strength, a wild child raised in the countryside, the strength of a delicate young lady like her was utterly insignificant. Daisy's fair skin instantly turned red, and swollen like a monkey's bottom. I let go, and it took her a while to steady herself. She shrieked, covering her face, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You crazy woman, how dare you hit me? I hit you because you deserve it. Why are you making a scene at my doorstep so early in the morning?" Daisy was so choked by my words that she opened her mouth, stammering, you, for a long time, unable to say anything coherent. She hadn't expected that the pushover, who usually had no temper, had turned into a porcupine that stings. Grace, what did you say to Marcus? Why won't he divorce, and what scheme are you pulling now? Let me tell you, the position of Mrs. Marcus was only borrowed by you, for a few years. Don't think you are anything special. I raised an eyebrow and retorted. And what are you, a shameless mistress hiding under the guise of true love, a rat from the gutter? Daisy was so enraged that her face turned crimson. She raised her handbag and threw it at my face. I could have dodged it, but stepped in front of me even faster, and the metal clasp of the bag grazed his cheek. A few drops of blood fell onto his shirt collar. Daisy was stunned, flustered, and touched his face. Marcus, you. He, however, turned his head away and instead asked me anxiously if I was all right. I took a few steps back to maintain my distance from him. After not seeing him for a few days, Marcus seemed to be doing poorly. He had dark circles under his eyes, his face was thinner, and his jawline was even more gaunt. Thinking of Ethan saying he had knelt outside the family for several nights, I voiced the doubt in my heart. Why won't you divorce me? Wouldn't it be better if I just let you and Daisy be together? Daisy also stood by, covering her face, waiting tearfully for an answer. Marcus lowered his gaze, deep in thought. After a long moment, he finally spoke as if having made up his mind. The moment Daisy implicitly agreed to our marriage out of fear of retaliation, there was no longer a possibility between her and me. Maintaining contact was simply because I didn't want to have any regrets. Now, she's a thing of the past to me. I won't divorce you because of her. Grace, you are a good woman. The position of Mrs. Marcus will always be yours. In just 2 sentences, he laid out all the reasons clearly. He truly was the most selfish person I had ever met. Because of his own selfish idea, he set a trap to marry me, ruined my marriage, and caused me to lose my child. He knew how much I loved him, how sincerely good I was to him, so he recklessly squandered that love. When I finally despaired, he came back trying to win me over, claiming I was suitable to be a good wife. As for his kindness towards Daisy, it was only so he wouldn't have any regrets when he eventually discarded his first love. He certainly used both women for his own ends. I looked at Marcus, this man who once made me head over heels, now nothing more than a despicable scumbag. Daisy, standing nearby, was already in tears, heartbroken beyond control. Marcus, how could you do this to me? I've waited 5 years for you. Marcus ignored her, looking at me with eyes full of sincerity. Grace, come back with me. Let's not get a divorce, okay? He made a move to hug me, but Ethan, who regularly came to bring gifts, saw him and stepped in with a somber expression, separating us. She doesn't want to go back with you. Marcus' eyes turned sharp, and a vein pulsed in his forehead. He abruptly grabbed Ethan's collar, his voice low and threatening. This is our private matter, it's none of your business. You are getting divorced. How is this still a private matter? Ethan scoffed. The atmosphere was tense. It was unclear who struck first, but they began exchanging blows, evenly matched. The commotion was too loud. My parents rushed out of their room. Ethan stopped when he saw my parents, taking a punch from Marcus head-on. The purple bruise was strikingly visible on his pale skin. Oh, Ethan, my dad was distressed. I went up to help Ethan, and he leaned against my arm, looking as if he were too weak to stand on his own. Are you okay? I asked him softly. Marcus, seeing my complete lack of concern for him, was both furious and aggrieved, his eyes red-rimmed. He reached out, pulled Ethan away, and snarled. Grace is my wife. Stay away from her. I couldn't hold back anymore. I swung my hand and slapped him across the face. A crisp slapping sound echoed. Marcus' head turned slightly from the impact, his pupils constricted. Daisy forgot her sadness and ran over, choking out. Marcus, are you okay? Does it hurt? Before she could finish, Marcus, his face dark, uttered a single word. Get out. Seeing the commotion grow, with neighbors coming out to watch, my mom spoke up, telling everyone to come inside to talk. Marcus sat silently on the living room sofa. Daisy, her face pale, didn't dare to sit too close to him. I gently applied medicine to Ethan's wound, occasionally asking if it hurt. He shook his head, looking at me with eyes full of smiles. You protected me when we were little. Now it's my turn to protect you. This intimate display stung Marcus. He spoke with a sense of dejection. Grace, I'm hurt too. Faced with the man's pleading display of weakness, I remained indifferent, not even giving him a glance. You have such a strong constitution. A minor injury won't kill you. Marcus's face instantly turned ashen. He remembered what he had once said to me, and frantically tried to explain. I truly didn't know you were pregnant then, and the hospital never informed me about your miscarriage. My dad raised his voice. What? A miscarriage? Under my parents' murderous gazes, Marcus and I explained what had happened recently. By the end, he knelt thud in front of my parents, promising to treat me well from then on. My mom hugged me, crying with sorrow. My dad gasped for air, his face red and veins bulging, grabbed the broom from the corner, and started hitting him, and Daisy, who was standing nearby, didn't escape either. You shameless jerks, get out. Don't dirty my carpet. Marcus, you son of a bitch, what kind of miserable life have you put my daughter through these past few years? Divorce. You must divorce. Daisy took several hits, her nose bleeding, and ran out crying and screaming, clutching her head. Marcus didn't say a word, stubbornly kneeling there and looking at me. I sighed wearily, crushing his last hope. Marcus, just leave. I stopped loving you a long time ago. Every second I've spent living with you has been an agony, nauseating. His eyes went utterly dark, and he stumbled away from my house. Less than a week after Marcus left my house, we officially divorced. It was Mrs. Margaret, who used her influence to expedite the entire process. It turned out that as soon as Marcus left my house, he got into an argument with Daisy, who was waiting outside, on the verge of a breakdown. Both of them, consumed by anger and not paying attention to their surroundings, were hit by a speeding car around the corner. The driver fled the scene. That area was remote, and it took a long time for someone to discover them and call an ambulance. Daisy suffered severe brain damage and entered a vegetative state. The harm I had shielded her from was now returned to her twofold. After all the schemes and calculations, she lost both love and her life. Marcus narrowly escaped death and remained unconscious in the hospital. In his life, he wronged me, and he wronged Daisy. Fortunately, I managed to pull back from the brink in time. The day I received my divorce papers, Ethan and my parents cooked a huge feast to celebrate with me. They told me to forget all the past unhappiness, and from then on, live the life I truly wanted. As I looked at my parents' graying hair, my eyes welled up, and I secretly vowed never to leave them again. The marital assets I received from my divorce with Marcus were enough to ensure I'd be financially secure for the rest of my life. I used a portion of the money to open a martial arts studio near my house, and hired professional coaches to encourage more girls to learn self-defense and protect themselves. I also went every now and then to train and keep fit. Ethan still had to work and couldn't stay here every day, but whenever he had time, he'd buy a ticket and come back, even if it was just for half a day. Gradually, my parents couldn't stand it anymore, and kept whispering in my ear every day. Look at Ethan, running back and forth every day, they'd say. He's lost so much weight. Daughter, they'd continue, sometimes we need to cherish the people around us. I did have feelings for Ethan. During my lowest point, he never showed any disdain and stayed by my side through my difficulties. But I want to stay with you, I said. If I were to be with him, I might have to move away. I had already neglected my parents for many years when I was married to Marcus, and I always wanted to make it up to them. I've already opened a branch office here. Ethan, who had been hiding behind the wall, suddenly emerged and spoke decisively. In a while, I can move the headquarters here. I froze for a moment and looked at my parents. They guiltily avoided my gaze. With a sigh, I looked at a nervous Ethan and nodded with a smile. So it's settled, I said. From now on, we'll settle down here. His eyes instantly lit up. He walked over and gently, yet with restraint, took my hand. Amidst a room full of laughter and joy, I embarked on a new chapter of my life. Perhaps no one can predict how the future will unfold, but cherishing the happiness of the present is always the right thing to do.